what I'm going to do from my end is quickly to give you a sort of an overview of emissions and some of the regulatory developments, especially in Nigeria, that some of you may want to know. So, I'm sure many people are aware of the subject of greenhouse gas emission already, but quickly I'm going to just give a kind of a review. So, what do we mean greenhouse gases? So, greenhouse gases, they are some of these gases that their presence in the atmosphere, their concentration in the atmosphere serves as a blanket that permits solar radiation to get into the Earth's surface, but then stops the heat on the Earth's surface to escape, basically trap the heat within the Earth's surface, thereby increasing the temperature on the Earth's surface. So these gases that exhibit this kind of characteristics, they are referred to as greenhouse gases. So the emission of these greenhouse gases from many source categories is what is called greenhouse gas emission. So generally, there are three main greenhouse gases that are of particular interest, especially for the oil and gas sector or the energy sector. So one is carbon dioxide. Carbon dioxide is the product of combustion, because combustion generally is a chemical reaction that involves oxygen and a fuel. The product is usually carbon dioxide and water vapor. However, even within the combustion system, sometimes you are likely to have incomplete combustion, and then methane may come out as a result of that. In the upstream sector, methane, again, later we're going to see the sources of methane emission in the oil and gas sector, but sometimes also as a part of combustion, basically uncombusted natural gas. Nitrous oxide is also a product of combustion characteristics. This product is as a result of the nature of the device that is being used for combustion. So throughout the oil and gas value chain, you have greenhouse gas emission, whether from exploration phase or production phase, refining, transportation, and even consumption. For example, in your kitchen, when you cook, whether you're using natural gas or you're using LPG, there is combustion. Therefore, carbon dioxide is being emitted right from the kitchen. So having said that, in the oil and gas industry, where are the sources of greenhouse gas emissions? So the three main greenhouse gases, where are they coming from? So generally, the sources of greenhouse gas emission in the oil and gas sector, whether we're looking at the upstream or the midstream or the downstream, there are basically three sources. One is combustion. Second is vented gas or processed gas. The other one is fugitives. So combustion, the combustion gas will be coming from the stationary combustion. So stationary combustion, basically things like incineration of gas as a result of using fuel in boilers or in furnaces, for example, in LNG operations. Sometimes when you have gas, when you treat your natural gas, you have kind of produce CO2, and the CO2 may go out with methane and other light component of gas. That gas may not be sent straight into the atmosphere, so it may go through the furnace, and in the furnace, it's basically a burning chamber. The result of that is more carbon dioxide going into the atmosphere. So another thing is burner, again, burning system, combustion, heaters, stationary gas turbines, gas engines. According to the International Oil and Gas Producers Association, combustion emissions account for about 50 to 70% of emission from the oil and gas sector. Another source of emission is flaring. Flaring generally is another combustion system. So in this case, burning of excess gases or burning of gas when there's no use for it, or when there's no economic use for it, or when there's no facility to make use of it. So burning of the gas becomes an operation. So it could be routine flaring, it could be operational flaring. In the end, greenhouse gas, carbon dioxide is the main product of flaring, because the destruction efficiency or the combustion efficiency may be low. Therefore, you may have methane slip, methane not going through the burning process, or you will have nitrous as well. So again, the International Oil and Gas Producers Association they say that from the oil and gas sector, about 15 to 30% of greenhouse gas emission comes from this operation. I mean, that's flaring. Venting is if you like, it's very difficult to say, but it's a process operation. So some of these process operation, they are deliberate to protect the assets. So depending on how the facility is designed, for example, if you have a separator, sometimes a separator pressure may reach a level of that the pressure safety devices may have to open to minimize, to safeguard the safety of the facility by venting the gas. Sometimes you have some processes like acid gas removal in LNG production or in gas processing field, whereby carbon dioxide is removed from the gas stream, because carbon dioxide, for example, comes when the gas is produced. So it comes together with the gas, but you need to get rid of it. So one way is to first separate the carbon dioxide from natural gas, and then because when you separate this, it's the output which you expect it to be carbon dioxide may also have some natural gas involved. Therefore, this could be burned or could be vented directly. So in that case, you have CO2 being vented. Sometimes in some operations, natural gas is used for pneumatic system, for controlling valves, for opening valves. And when you open a valve, the valve needs to depressurize by getting rid of carbon dioxide and methane. Sometimes in crude oil storage facilities, you have, again, you need to, the way the crude oil storage tanks work is atmospheric pressure. And basically, when we say atmospheric pressure, we mean that the oil is free of natural gas. And the way to do this is to get the system linked with the offsite pressure, which is atmospheric pressure. What that, technically speaking, we're getting rid of gas, and that is basically a vent. And sometimes in some operations, some storage tanks are actually what they call tank blanketing. They are filled with natural gas when the tank is empty, and when the tank is during operation, during crude oil loading into storage tank, those gas could be vented. This kind of operation happens in many oil fields. Another thing is during completion of wells or workover. The well needs to be safe, therefore need to be depressurized. Each time we say depressurize, we are getting rid of gas. And sometimes the fastest way to get rid of gas is to actually vent it. So venting is a huge issue in the oil and gas. Sometimes you need to maintain a vessel, or you need to maintain a tank. The tank has to be vented for the safety of the operational staff. So again, from the data from the International Oil and Gas Producers, they say that 5 to 20% of emissions in the oil and gas operations come from venting. The other one is fugitives. Fugitives are not deliberate activity, but as a result of equipment leaks. These leaks could be from the seals on the compressors, could be from gaskets. Gaskets are devices, they are sort of devices are used in tying, holding, or sealing joint in a pipeline. So leakage comes through this. Valves, of course, is another point for fugitives. So in oil and gas, typical oil and gas facility, whether it's in Nigeria or anywhere in the world, these three activities are going on. Our interest is to see how we can mitigate against these activities. But for us to be able to mitigate, we need to account for the gas. So the next thing is basically just to emphasize the risk, the environmental risk associated with greenhouse gas emission. As we all know, the issue with the greenhouse gas is the fact that it stops the solar the heat on the surface of Earth from going back, but allowing solar radiation to getting reached to us, and they are increasing the temperature of the Earth's surface. The problem with that is what is referred to as global warming. It may result in the melting of polar ice or glaciers. And what is the problem with that? The problem with that is that increased water level, sea level, which leads to erosion. Another thing is extreme weather. I mean, there's so much argument around this, but one thing we see is clearly the fact that we are experiencing extreme weathers. So the entire world is saying that all the industrial effort, all the human activities that are resulting to increase in greenhouse gas into the atmosphere are then leading into extreme weathers needs to be tackled. Hence, there is huge pressure on oil and gas operators to minimize the emission of greenhouse gas from their facilities. International treaty, one of the key international treaty that handles, try to address this climate change issue of greenhouse gas emission is the Paris Agreement, which was adopted in 2015. The idea about the Paris Agreement is for the whole global community to come together to ensure that the temperature on the surface of the Earth, the increase in temperature on the surface of Earth is kept below 1.5 degrees Celsius. And to achieve that, countries, they agree to be accountable to one another, which through what is known as nationally determined contributions. This nationally determined contribution, many countries signed to it. For example, in my own country, Nigeria signed to this, and Nigeria signed to reduce greenhouse gas emission, comparing that from 2018 baseline level, emission level, to reduce that by 20% in 2030. And because of that, there have been so many efforts locally here in Nigeria to support this national commitment, which has been committed at the level of the president. So this is taken very seriously. In the oil and gas sector, it's getting even more serious. So as you're going to see very soon with some of the highlights. So first, to support this, there's sort of, actually not first, the first was in 2015, but the proper nationally determined contribution that Nigeria has submitted was in 2021. And in that national determined contribution, Nigeria said that the emissions in Nigeria is around 347 million tons of CO2 equivalent. That is 2018 level. And of that, 349 million tons of CO2 equivalent. CO2 equivalent means the combination of carbon dioxide, nitrous, and methane. And how that is calculated is using carbon dioxide as a baseline, then calculate and determine using what is known as global warming potential. If using carbon dioxide as a baseline, the global warming potential of methane as relative to carbon dioxide is around 25 to 28, depending on number of years. The time frame is like 100 years. That of nitrous is around 265 to around 284. So that is work. That's with that you work out and get the carbon dioxide equivalent. We have a training for this where we teach how this is determined. But I want to quickly highlight the development from the NDC, the National Determined Contribution, and what's in the oil sector, the development in the oil sector so far. So one of those developments is a guideline that was developed late 2022 by the Nigerian Upstream Petroleum Regulatory Commission, and the guidelines is for management of fugitives, methane, and greenhouse gas emission in the upstream sector. This guideline and previous work has now been put together to a new regulation, which has been released, I think, just this month, which is gas flaring, venting, and methane emission, prevention of waste and pollution regulation 2023. The other aspect is in the midstream. The midstream is regulated by the Nigerian midstream, the NDPRA, and Nigerian Midstream Petroleum Regulatory Authority. They have developed a new regulation as well, which is Midstream Gas Flaring Regulation 2023. I just snapshot key things here, but the emphasis is on measuring. So measuring all the sources, so flaring, venting, fugitives. These are well emphasized in this regulation. This regulation is on the website, and I would not like to take much time about it. The other one is the midstream gas flaring regulation. Again, it's emphasized reporting of flaring, reporting of venting. Again, this is highly emphasized. My time is fast gone, and I would quickly like to conclude. So I give Dave space to speak specifically on how we determine this emission in the field. There are many techniques, but clearly measuring and reporting is very key, and now it's becoming very important regulatory matter around the world, and specifically here in Nigeria. So again, emission is methane specifically pose significant risk to the environment. So it's a major component of greenhouse gas emission. Remember, I mentioned that methane global warming potential. That is how much devastating or potent methane is on global warming. It's around 28 or 25 to 28 when you compare it to carbon dioxide. So methane is a key thing. So there are so many global efforts to minimize methane in the oil and gas industry. One good example is the OGMP, the Oil and Gas Methane Partnership, which is a partnership organized by major oil companies in the world. They are tackling from different perspectives. So again, accurate measurement and reporting now is very important. So here, our company, Flexion company, we promote measurement, promote reporting. We support companies in doing this. Transparent reporting now is critical. Of course, you cannot do any reporting without measurement. So what are the takeaways? Takeaways is greenhouse gas emission from oil and gas operation has significant environmental risk. Compliance with regulators is a critical thing. Regulators in the oil and gas industry in Nigeria basically have two regulators: the commission in the upstream, and then the authority in the midstream and downstream sector. Measurement, we cannot emphasize. Everything starts with measurement, and David is going to emphasize, is going to give us some specific insight on how to measure these emissions and with specific case studies. Implementing effective mitigation strategies. There are many mitigation strategies that are being looked at, whether I use CCUs, carbon capture usage and storage, whether it's injecting the gas back into atmosphere, into aquifer, depleted reservoirs. So adopting corporate strategy is now becoming a business. Many lenders now, they have to see your methane mitigation strategy to support financially for whatever project that you have. So thank you so much. I would like to stop at this point and then invite David to